going on, everybody? 9:30 on the nose. Whew, man. Punctuality is a sign of punctuality. What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. I have a feeling it's been a big week for everybody in one way or another. This has been a dramatic week, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of very interesting change-like things going on. Can everybody see me okay? Who do we got in here, man? What's up, Clemsy? Come on in, man. He's coming in all the way from Slovenia, so it might take a couple seconds. Oh, yeah. Let's try it again, man. If not, we'll do the hand. Huh. Interesting. Yo, brother. Do the hand for me, man. Raise your hand. Yeah, let's try this.
All right, this works.
There's my boy. What's going on, man?
Wait, let me just mute my computer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
There he is. I'm going to actually take these off for various reasons that I thought about this morning while I was in the shower.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Are you sideways? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Are you sideways?
I
Dude,
tried it.
You went blonde, bro.
Yeah, bro, but
a little
like
bit.
I went back to black now during quarantine, so this is all messed up now. This is quarantine looks.
It looks kind of like you don't understand this shit, do you?
Yeah,
like, you can't even keep up with this shit.
No,
like,
it's
you can just go up to random strangers and be like, "What color is that?" Just see what they do.
I wanted gray. They gave me blonde and black.
You wanted it gray?
It was gray for first 10 days, but yeah.
Was it really?
Gray, yeah, gray things don't last though.
Fuck!
I came to LA
like,
with
why did you do this to me?
Getting older and wiser.
God, how long has it been, man? I feel like the last time I saw you was in Santa Monica at
breakfast.
At breakfast, man, like a 2-hour breakfast.
Yeah, it was like 2 years almost.
Probably
August 18th. Yeah. Time flies, man. Time flies.
You've been busy too, bro.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Akeem, good to see you. Riz, good to see you. Tori's in. She's always sneaking around. Pint Size, what's going on? How are you? Yeah, dude. It's been what's your week been like?
My week?
Yeah.
I slept very little. Had a lot of stuff. Had a couple, remote sessions.
Friends. You slept very little?
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff to do. So yeah, I had a couple, broadcast. I don't know if it's called like that, but wired sessions. How are they called? Online.
How are you running those? What kind of
I recently found I started through Zoom, but it was all laggy and stuff. The audio was cutting out a lot, so now we can do the Zoom screen share, and we use I found a plugin called Listen by Audio Movers, and that works. Yeah, that works great.
Now, I'm just curious. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but did you know about that before I mentioned it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was researching during Corona because of all that virus thing, and I saw a UK guy talking about it. So I'm like, I gotta get that.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to the guys that produce Session Wire, which is sort of a semi-competitor, last week about that stuff. And I told them outright, because like I talk to studios and I talk to producers and stuff because of my work as a journalist right now. So I talk to a lot of people, and I'm a curious person. So I will always say, like, hey, have you heard of, if it's a studio, they've probably heard of Source Connect. You know Source Connect?
No.
Source Connect is like the super, almost like an enterprise version that's like very expensive. It's very reliable. It's what post-production teams use when they need to like be synced up globally.
Yeah.
Like the Microsoft version or something like that. It's very expensive, and it's something that a lot of larger studios subscribe to and use. And it's very well established in the industry. And then you've got these sort of other people that have moved in over the last few years. And if I ask someone Source Connect, they're like, yeah, but that's too expensive. If I ask them Session Wire, they're like, I've never heard of Session Wire. And if I say Audio Movers, they go, yeah, I've heard of Audio Movers, but I've never actually used it. Like most people, it's like they know someone who uses it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it on a video, and I haven't tried it for a month, but then like I've been using it for the last week a lot, almost every day, honestly.
So look, yeah, I know. I'm no earphones today until we start with, Razier was asking me about my earphones. I'm going to do speaker because I'm going to try something with our little music listening situation that it might not sound very good coming out of my phone into you now. In fact, it's probably going to sound quite bad. But at the very least, the way I thought of it in my head is like when someone watches this a week from now on YouTube, at least they'll have audio and they can be like, oh, that's the song and how it goes, more or less, right? And if you want, we can include a link to the like the original audio if you want. So it's good to have everybody here. Let's see who else is on here so I know kind of like what's going on. Bite Size, I don't think we've seen you before. If you've been in before, I didn't notice. Are you you have a background in music, or because this is going to be kind of music centric, so hopefully you do, and it's good to have you here. Good to see Riz here. Clem is on the video, and got a Teve in here. So what we're going to try today is something a little bit different, and it's the 1.0 version of this for sure. So it's probably going to not sound fantastic, but it'll be a good first round for stuff. And I want to do more of these if you guys would like them. So this will be sort of a little teaser to see, how this goes. So Clement is, join our Discord, and we're going to be using the Discord to kind of facilitate this. So you'll be able to leave links in there if you want us to review your links. People can comment, people can collaborate or connect through our Discord. I want this to be sort of a very supportive space for music collaboration. So Clement is someone that I know as a former student in music production. What's going on, Yuma? Good to see you again, brother. Thank you for your email last night. And I'm glad that you connected with Moment House. Totally, I'll totally facilitate that as much as I can. So we're going to listen to a song that Clement did. And what I want you to do, dude, is pretend that I don't know you and I don't have like a 2-year history with you and a lot of stuff.
All right.
And just tell me, set up the song a little bit. And I think the easiest way to do it is, I feel like I'm talking too much through this, but it's like, just tell us where you want to be sort of moving into with your music in general and how this song fits into that.
Okay. So this perspective kind of shifted in like from coming back from LA.
Yeah.
So like something big happened on the Eastern European music industry. So it kind of exploded with all that trap wave and everything. And it's like the rhythmically driven music I really like. So I really started working in that way, reaching out for some bigger artists that are, you know, serious and can deliver quality, and I want to work with them. So basically in a year or two, I want to be one of the leading producers and writers for those people. But also on the side, I want to have my own artists, which are smaller artists and perspective artists, you know, that you could push them forward, create music for them, help them with evolving and everything. But this song in specific, this is kind of side project which happened, you know, just out of fooling around actually. So after listening to it a couple of times, because it's me singing, it's the first song where I'm singing on the song, and I don't take myself as a singer yet, right? I do a lot of writing, but I don't take myself as a singer. So it was just fooling around, and now I started to like it, and you know, I see the direct lane it could potentially create, a direct wave that is not really present here on this scene, on this industry. It has a different flavor to it, I think.
So, question. I want to make sure that I understood you right. At the beginning of what you were saying, you said that there's this kind of movement happening in Europe and you want to be engaged in that. But what you told me a second ago was that what you're doing is quite different than what you're seeing in Europe. So explain that a little more.
It has a different flavor to it. It's like, okay, let me think for a sec how to put that in words best. It's, you know, a lot of trap stuff is going on, mixing with mumbaton, with rumba rhythms and all of that, but nothing like. Do you maybe know the artist called Zu, ZHU?
No.
He's a master of that melancholy vibe. It's more housey, but you know, I'm trying to incorporate that within the trap. So more melancholy trap with really processed vocals. So it's not really audible who is singing. It's just, you know, the soundscape that it.
So the European, whatever is going on at the moment, in your view, is not melancholy. Then what is it more?
It's more hype driven.
Okay.
You have love songs, of course. You have a lot of love songs, but not really melancholy.
They're more like party tracks, club tracks, bangers, that kind of shit.
Or summer tracks.
Get crazy. This is a little more sort of introspective, melancholy kind of vibe. Got it. So this song, all that stuff makes sense. Where is this song in the process? And like, what do you think are the strongest parts of the song? And what do you think are the parts of the song that you'd like to somehow look at or, grow in some way?
So one of the things that I would grow is obviously the vocals, because it's all still mumbling. Because
what do you mean by grow the vocals? What do you mean by that?
The vocal melody, that's first thing. Top line melody, yeah. Okay. It lacks lyrics because it's just me mumbling gibberish. So it needs good lyrics, deep lyrics, I think. Okay. And also all the vocal production, arrangement, twist. I have to change parts of the vocal melody as well, you know, because it gets kind of boring throughout the song. At the end, I feel it could, you know, spark more interest at the end. But you asked for the process, where it is at the process. It's basically 2 days work. One day I made the beat, and the second day, as I usually do, I just, you know, freestyle some top lines over it just to give it some sense and vibe, and then to see where I can take it off from there. For sure. So this is where it is now.
Got it.
It's at the second day. So
I'm glad you're here as well, because we got some really good people in the room. Obviously, you and Ativ are tight friends, and he knows your music. There's some good people in the room that I think will enjoy this and be able to probably provide some other insights and comments and stuff in your own ways. So lyrics and melody you'd like to grow. What is it that's strong about the track that you feel is really like promising, that you want to maybe emphasize or that you love about the track?
What I personally love the most is the bridge.
Okay.
Like how it's contrasting, because the full track gives you kind of, it's called Late Night, right? Uh-huh. It's kind of vibey, you know. It's dreamy. It has a bit dreamy feeling to me. But then in the middle, in the third of the song, it kind of have a shift, a twist, where it's like, you know, kind of running thing, aggressive, the kind of adrenaline part of the dream. But then it turns back into the nice part with some, you know, adrenaline added on top to it. It just, the vocal doesn't follow all the way yet, but that's the idea. That's my strong point in the song, I feel.
Is the bridge, the middle third, you're saying?
Yeah, the middle
Okay, what
third.
else? What else is strong about the song? Well, if you were thinking this song could be like the doorway into this space, if it sort of really grew out into what it could possibly be, what would give it the momentum to do that? Besides
I
the
think,
bridge.
yeah, I think it's mostly it's the vocal processing, which I'm aiming for, will make the change, will sound different, than anything. Oh, thanks, Yuma. What's
Can
up?
I push back on that? I don't think a song's gonna blow open doors for you because of the vocal processing. So what besides the bridge might give this song legs to do something significant in your career? And we don't have to make this like a big. This song doesn't have to change your career. I'm just saying, where is the germ in this song that we can kind of like bring it out more? Besides the bridge, what else is awesome, even in potential, about the song?
It's vibey. I like the drums and percussion, but I don't know if I can specifically name something why this would work on the market, because my honest opinion is it's either gonna work or not. It's either gonna start paving a way, or people are gonna completely reject it because it's a bit different as it was. I think it's worth trying, and I've noticed people dig this vibe. The guys who I told you here as well, I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna see.
And you see it as something where you would essentially be the vocalist. You wouldn't be pitching this to have someone else do the vocals, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're the artist. This is like an artist track.
This is an artist track.
And I think it's the first artist track I've ever heard from you.
Yeah.
So that's what's fucking cool about this, is as a producer and as a collaborator and as a facilitator and as a kind of executive producer and a DJ and an instructor and all these other hats that you're used to wearing, you're basically bringing out the art from someone else's material and putting things together and making their material shine in whatever way. And I think it's cool, just that this is a great experiment for you to be able to try it as an artist.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're leaking your first demo to us, man. We appreciate it.
Yes, I am.
And he likes the top line a lot. So it's interesting. Like you're saying, I feel like there's this kind of like, there's a lot of appreciation for the top line, meaning the melody. Cool. So let's do this. You guys, Tori, can you post the link for the SoundCloud one last time, just so people have it like handy and right in front of them? If you guys link on that right now, whether you're watching this, actually you wouldn't be able to do this after the fact on YouTube. So we will link, if you're watching this in the future, we'll have a link. It's a SoundCloud link for Clemen's track. It's probably going to read something like Late Night Vocal Demo-ish. And what we're going to do right now is ideally listen to that track either now or in the future. And then we'll listen to it together, just you guys through the speaker on my device here. Won't sound as good as it will in the original, but it'll at least give you like a reference, right? A better experience, and this is super lo-fi, and we're just doing this as an initial experiment, would be click on that right now. When I count us all down, just go over to the SoundCloud and listen to it there. It's a 3-minute track. So listen to it over there. You'll get a better environment. But if you don't have that, or if you're on a mobile device, you can't do it, let's listen to it here. You ready? So we're going to count it down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I hope everybody's applauding with me. That sounds fucking killer, man.
Oh, for real?
We got some very nice comments. Yuma's digging the melody. Bassline in the bridge adds an interesting contrast. I agree, Ativ. Tori's clapping. So, yeah, man, this is cool. It's like a little listening party. And, okay, so you're referring to, I jotted down some times on the current track. And, of course, this track is probably a work in progress, so it's going to move around. But it sounds to me like the bridge starts about 2 minutes in, where it gets thicker.
Yeah.
By the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is that if you're talking about lyrics and you're talking about top line, obviously you've used this kind of, like, to use your word, you've used this kind of gibberish version of the melody to kind of just get a vibe down. And it's obviously, I have a keyboard, by the way. If you can't see this, I have a keyboard in front of me. So, because I figured it might be useful to, I don't know, use it. So, I think trying to figure out, it sounds like the person that's speaking is really trying to convince me of something. They're really trying to, like, share something with me.
Okay.
And they're trying to kind of bare their soul a little bit. They're telling me something. And I think keying in on what it is they're saying, and it could be 10 different things and you could run with it 10 different directions. But I think moving into an emotional space where you're like, this is someone who just saw the girl he wants to marry. This is someone who just broke up with the girl that he wanted to marry. Those are two completely different feelings that would move into two different ways of communicating something this fervently. He's like, and I'm putting it in a male perspective because you're the artist, and I'm assuming for the moment, imaginatively, it's a guy saying something, communicating something.
Yeah.
You know, I think the way you make an acting, script writing a book, you know, it has to come from a place that even if you don't feel that personally yourself, that you are clear about, like, this is a moment in someone's life where X, right? And I think that will inform more of the melody and the lyrics, because otherwise you're what are you going to talk about? So what do you think potentially, just as some examples even, what's happening in this person's life and what are they trying to talk to us about?
It's not really a breakup song to me. Okay. It's more of a, like, not a sad song, but mixed feeling, like interesting stuff. Maybe the game that happens before, you get someone or you don't get them, whatever.
Curious, a little bit alluring, a little bit like, like tipsy right now.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. The playing around, fooling around from an interesting.
Is this person in their room thinking about it? Is this person in the club? They just walked in. Is this person like looking across the room at this person? What's going on, more or less?
I can paint it more like, this sounds corny, but I can paint it more like, in the rain outside, like washed out colors, and both of them being there, both of us being there, actually. Yeah, sorry.
In the rain, right? You guys are both in the rain.
Yeah.
Where? Is it in Slovenia? Is it in Paris? Is it in...
Oh, Paris sounds good.
Okay, let's go with Paris.
Okay, let's go.
Outside, is it like, kind of
a dark alley,
Van Gogh type of scene, like outside a cafe or outside of somebody's apartment, or I don't know, near some fountain or something?
Outside, in between the cafe and the fountain, there's a dark alley. Nice. Like a little darker alley. Yeah.
Is she from Paris, or are you guys both? Because let's assume you're not from Paris, because you're not actually. Is she from Paris? Is she also visiting?
Yeah, I met her there.
Oh, you met her there, but does she live there?
No.
No.
Not really. Not really.
Do you know where she's from?
Yeah, she's from UK.
Uh-huh. And did you guys just start talking like 10 minutes ago? or have you been like spending the whole day together, or is this like the end of a weekend that's blowing your mind?
It's been the whole night. It actually happened like I was helping her with something. She asked me for something, and then we got it. And this happened for real now, and you
Good.
associated me, with it.
That's great.
Um, that's why I'm talking like that. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
making it up
either
anymore.
way, it doesn't matter.
But
And
yeah, it
what's
happened
cool
like
is
that.
you can use that and adapt it and pull from it, and
Yeah,
then take stuff that didn't necessarily happen.
I'm taking notes, by the way.
Yeah.
For that.
Well, you
Yeah.
can watch this later. Is the good news. So look, it's 9:58, and we're gonna have Guillermo on in a couple minutes. So here's what I think would be a fun. Here's what I think would be a fun exercise. We didn't even get into any of the music shit because, frankly, the whole exercise of music is really more about communication and emotion anyway. If you're listening to music and it doesn't make you feel something, you're not going to keep listening to it. So we might as well start with the shit that put you there in the first place and swim around in that a little bit. So trying to think like maybe for like the next time, maybe we can do like a second one where you come on in a week or two. And what do you think? What do you think based on what we've started doing? What would be cool? Do you want to come in with? Well, let me let you answer. What's the next step
For the song or for?
for what we're doing right now? Like, if you come on
Yeah,
in a week or two and you got something else that's moved forward, what are we gonna do to get you there from right now?
yeah. That's what I was thinking. We can like by the next time I can raise my hand when I
Cool.
have the song on the next level, and we can kind of evolve it together with the feeling, with the feedback, with the steering, which you do very good, by the way.
So here's some things I'd like to throw out as just some little exercises. Some of them may work, some of them may not. One, I'd like to know what her name is.
Okay, wait. Her
You
name?
may use it in the song, you may not. I don't really care. But it might be an interesting thing to use that person's name. Let's see, what else? I think if you can jot down, I don't know how you think lyrically because I've never heard or read your lyrics before. But one way to do it is just jot down phrases, like just. And I know English is also not your first language, which can be
Yeah.
actually an advantage. I mean, there's a lot of really successful producers where English, in English, that English wasn't their first language. So jot down phrases, that for whatever reason, just poetry type phrases, like, and maybe look at some pictures of Paris, rainy pictures of Paris. Look at art. Find some Van Gogh. Find some, Toulouse-Lautrec. No, Toulouse-Lautrec wouldn't be the right thing, but like find some art. Look at some shit. Move yourself into that, and then try and find like words, just phrases, turns of phrase. I'll give you an example. For some reason, this is coming to mind. I don't know why, but there's this song by Train called "Drops of Jupiter."
Sorry, I didn't hear the
There's
title.
a song by the band Train called "Drops of Jupiter."
Okay.
It's not a recent track. It was a hit like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. But I remember reading something recently about the fact that, forget the guy's name, but the lead singer who wrote it started with something like the word atmosphere. I don't know if you guys know Drops of Jupiter. It's I'm trying to remember how it goes now. Yeah. Maybe.
Now that she's back in the atmosphere.
Now that she's back in the atmosphere, thank you for saving my ass on that one. That was the phrase that kept ringing in his head over and over. Now that she's back in the atmosphere, now that she's back in the atmosphere, now that she's back in the atmosphere. Right? So a whole really commercially successful song, which is not necessarily the aim here, but it says something, that it came from a little turn of phrase that just kept running around in his head for a while, and then he built this whole narrative around it. So sometimes just one little turn of phrase that slips in really nicely with the vibe and the emotion of it can be like the thing that you build it out from. And then that also gives you some cadence. You know what the word prosody means?
Prosody?
Yeah.
No.
Prosody. It has to do with how fluid and smooth the melody and the lyric kind of go together. So some words sound better when you go up, and when some words sound better when you go down. And there's this kind of natural rhythm to words. So like if you can just find one little thing that snaps together, where it's a nice turn of phrase that hits the vibe and it fits into that chord and sequence that you're using, that can be the thing that like sort of is the foundation for a lot of the rest of what you come up with. So I think finding that, looking around for it, and then maybe pop in a week or two, or let me know by email or whatever, and we'll wrap back on it.
That's interesting. That will be interesting to see. You know, I've never did that. Interesting to see evolving a song. You know, with you online, having people, you know, comment their ideas probably or something. That's yeah, I'm down for it. I'll let you know. I'll let you know once I get past that idea.
Yeah, and
idea
don't
thing.
overthink it. I mean, you know, like get to, you know, a step or two beyond where you are now and hop back on, because I think this is good for everybody, but it's especially good for you. And because it's your song and it's an exercise, but like everyone else can sort of like get something from this, even if they disagree with some of what we're talking about. Razier is asking about the hook. Good question. I would love to explore this stuff with you guys, but we got day 2 with Guillermo on here. So I promise you guys we'll find a way to circle back on this and continue to discuss it. I'm glad you guys are all here. And we can chat on Discord, et cetera, et cetera. Next couple weeks, man, I want to have you back on. 2 weeks max.
Perfect.
1 week would be better, because I don't want it to be like a different headspace. I want it to be like more or less the same headspace, but a little further along.
Yeah. I had a plan on working on it because it's been, you know, chilling with me for a month. So I had a plan, you know, now is the time to push it. So I started working on it, and then, you know, we made this. So it will be ready by the next week, hopefully.
A little gentle social pressure, man. A little gentle.
Yeah. Works wonders.
All right, my brother. Stick around, man. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, same. Can't wait to see you in person, man.
Likewise.
Talk soon.
And see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Was that fun, dudes and dudettes? Let me catch up with some of you guys. That was Clement, dude. That was Clement. And I just want to catch up a little bit and see what you guys are talking about. Thanks. Hopefully that was fun. Let me know. You know, give us any feedback, because we don't know what we're doing here. Annie, good to see you. Emreen, nice to see you as well. Do we have, looks like, Tori, I do not see Guillermo on. Am I correct in that assumption? Thanks, Riz. Thank you, Ugona. Cool. Well, now that I sort of made room for somebody and they're not here, that's really awkward. It's not. By the way, I wanted to mention a couple of things. This might be a good time to do it. First off, for those of you that are fans of Emma McGann, if you're not a fan of Emma McGann, I don't know what you're thinking. It's Emma's birthday today. So let's all mentally wish Emma McGann a happy 30th birthday. This is public knowledge, so it's not like I'm sharing something that she hasn't emailed out to her people and stuff. So Emma McGann, please check out her website. Check out her live streams. She's amazing. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing talent. She also happened to be on our first 4 live streams. Go back and watch those. She's really great. James is great. Happy birthday, Emma. Thanks, Yuma. Appreciate it. Ativ, thank you. This is fun, man. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't want to mention that until he actually got on. But Guillermo is a new dad, so he might be just slightly busy right now. Yuma, I want to remember to ask him about your question that you had emailed me, like how to do or approach videos, right? So music videos that you might be doing tied into a recording session. That's a really great question, and it's kind of like connected with the discussion. Let me see if Homeboy showed up yet. Listen, what other stuff would you guys like to learn about, know about? What other kinds of artists do you think are interesting? Did you guys check out what's happening with the Versus rap battles? To me, what's interesting, and this is going to sound like I'm not appreciating the music side of it, but what's interesting to me is they're having a lot of technical difficulties with it that are sort of putting a cloud on all the other cool shit that's happening with these amazing, huge artists and huge names. And they're trying to snap together, how to make it work and not break down. So that's happening. I don't know if that's something that's interesting to look at. If you guys have anything specific that we can explore, let me know. Oh, put my headset back on. I'm going to freeze for a second. Nobody panic. Righto. Seems like it's kind of like washed out. Guillermo's going to be pissed. What's up, man? How are you, brother? You ready to come on? Ready to hop on, brother? There he is. Now it sounds awesome. What's up, Guillermo? Well, congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm sort of speechless. I'm super happy for you. Tell us why I'm congratulating you. I'll let you tell us.
Well, my partner was pregnant till about a week ago, Sunday night, I guess, and then the baby arrived a couple of weeks early. So now I'm a dad, and these past few days I've been on daddy duty, I guess. It's been great. It's amazing. She's beautiful, and everything's right. Everything's working perfectly, and I'm getting a few hours of sleep. It's like being back on tour, basically.
You're well trained.
Yes.
Well trained. Well, I'm going to give you some applause as well. We're all very happy for you.
Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. And thank you so much for naming her Petra.
Oh, yeah. It just sort of came. I know it's sort of similar to your name, actually. I just realized. Yeah. But it's one of those things that we were adding names to a list, and we had it on like Google Sheets, and we were rating names to see which ones had the highest ratings. And then one day we were getting in the car, and I was thinking of Petri dish first, and then I said, well, that's not a good name. So I said, what about Petra? And then both of us were like, yeah, that's it. And we didn't know what gender she was going to be. So we're lucky that she was a woman, because we had not picked a name for a boy yet.
Maybe she sensed that and was like, I think I need to go girl. I need to lean.
I think that was the case too.
So it was just the sound of the word that you guys liked, and it's interesting that it kind of resonated with both of you.
Yeah. And then at some point I had been saying like maybe Indiana, or like I was thinking of Indiana Jones just because I really like the movie.
Yeah.
So the whole like Petra and Jordan, and like, yeah, I don't know, it sort of goes with like the exploring thing as well, you know. And it also means stone too, I learned.
It does.
Yeah. So it all works.
Beautiful, man. Congratulations.
Thank you
great.
very much.
So is your partner back from the hospital, or is she?
Yeah, we were at the hospital for about 24 hours. So we came back home Monday night, and yeah, we have a midwife that has come a couple of times just to check on things. But yeah, everything's good. We're at first worried that she might have a bit of jaundice, but then they did blood tests and everything's fine. Yeah, it's scary though. It's like after 24 hours, they're like, okay, go home, and you just go home with this baby, and you're like, well,
you're like, is there a manual or like what? Right?
Yeah,
You're going
totally.
online. I'm sure it's how you do everything else in your studio. You're like, okay, where is the information about, like, you know, first 24 hours?
Totally. Is this normal? Is it normal that they're doing this noise? You know?
Like
we went through classes and all that stuff, but it's not the same, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to see her someday in the near future. Congratulations again, man. It's wonderful to have you on. Thank you so much for making time. You know, I had no idea that you had that coming into your life when I said, hey, we should do another one of these next week. So thank you for making the time to do this. And like we all super appreciate, especially Ugona. Ugona told me that he connected with you and you're going to be helping him a little bit. So yes, I'm thrilled.
We were supposed to have a consultation last week, but it happened went right about the time when labor started. So
yeah,
you know, I did a couple of things right before, but you know, as the pain grew bigger and bigger, it was like, okay, I need to get out of the computer. And you know, I actually ended up doing a YouTube tutorial on streaming as well. And as I was finishing recording that, I was going to do a Q&A at the end, but that's the time that we had to go to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to do something we're going to try something a little different today. And again, I'm always open to feedback. I think this will be fun. But long story short, you know, Guillermo covered so much great stuff last week that I think we've got about 75% of what I would need to actually write an article based on some of the stuff that you talked about. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to revisit some of the things that you mentioned and kind of fill in some holes. This is literally, my deadline for this is Monday, and I have another article I also have to write this weekend, so I'm going to be very busy. But you guys are basically going to be a part of writing this in a way. So you'll see this in a couple weeks come out, and everyone on this stream is going to go, oh, I heard him say that. I remember them talk. I think it'll be cool. But forgive me if I'm a little less responsive for the next 20, 30 minutes, because I just want to make sure I get some stuff and that we have what we need. And then I'll kind of open it back up for Q&As and comments and all sorts of good stuff like that. Okay. Cool. So let's see what we got here. You had talked about, Guillermo, this sort of how, you know, you were basically functioning as a studio producer, and then you sort of started adding in or providing an opportunity for live streaming almost simultaneously. Like, hey, you're coming in, we might as well live stream that. What I want to know about is how do you make that work? How do you balance, hey, we're going to cut a record today, which is focused and productive and engineering and efficient, and then, oh, but let's keep an eye on, you know, who's engaging with us with the live stream, and how do you make that work?
Well, it really depends on the band. For sure, I work with a lot of bands that don't feel comfortable sharing things that happen inside a studio. You know, when you're producing a record, you want to make sure that everyone's really comfortable, and sometimes having cameras make people act a little bit, you know. But as a musician and an engineer as well, I've always loved watching the behind the scenes and all these things. And I've toured extensively doing front of house as well. And it's always a mess. Like, sure, there were a lot of great sounding rooms, but one of the bands I toured with had like Vibrolax and like an 8x10 and a Garnet, and like it was a wall of amps that even when they would play in smaller venues, they had them all cranked. So, you know, I could never make them sound balanced really, and they didn't want to change that. But in the studio, however, usually when I'm in the control room, I have a mix that I really like, and as I started watching again, some of the inspiration was, you know, Tiny Desk was a big one. Just watching bands that I really like, and I'm thinking, well, there's a lot of bands I love in Toronto, and they don't have any of these opportunities. You know, like no one's doing this right now. Sure, there's a lot of people doing tutorials, and there's a lot of streams on how to do things, but a nice setting where people go to the studio and things are set up and they just play and go doesn't really happen that often. So I decided to start something I called originally Pacha Sessions. My studio is called Pacha Sound. Pacha is Quechuan, which is a language from Peru, like one of the official languages, and it means earth. That's why Pachamama means, you know, Mother Earth. So Pacha Sound means earth sound, basically, and then Pacha Sessions was that we would record all day or like finish the whole record, as you're saying. There's pre-production and like we make everything sounding great. Oh, another good influence was watching when the Foo Fighters released a record a few years ago. I think that they did a live from Studio 666 or 660 or whatever their studio is called. And it was the whole album from beginning to end played live. And I thought that was amazing as well. And I'm like, well, it would be cool if bands did something like that. Maybe not the whole record, but maybe one or two songs.
Was that audio or was it video?
Audio and video.
Okay.
Yeah. And because again, I love seeing what, like when you hear records, in my head, I'm picturing them in the studio playing those instruments. And I always like that behind the scene, right? So I started offering that to bands, and we would record the album, and then at the end of the day, with things exactly how they were, we would go into streaming mode. And obviously that meant that I had to start finding out, okay, how do I connect cameras to my computer? How do I make it so that the video is synced with the audio as well? So it was a lot of like clapping and making tests and making sure that things are in sync, because I hate it when it's out of sync. And also how to make it sound like it's a record as well, right? How do I grab the output of Pro Tools or my DAW or whatever it is and make it sound really good, and then send that and combine it to the audio rather than just a camera or a Zoom recorder at a show, which, you know, you can get some balanced mixes that way, but I want to hear the weight of the kick. I want to hear the nuances of a brush and a snare. I want to hear some reverb on the vocals and all those things. So once I started like buying the cameras and the connections and all that stuff, then it came into other problems. Like maybe it's too dark. So how do we add lights? How do we change settings to get everything going? And I had a partner for that, one of the members of my band, of the Honey Runners. He's a great singer and really proactive, but he had just had a kid back then, actually, and so he sort of started taking care of more of that, and I sort of left it there, but it was left with the cameras and the know-how and like a long HDMI cable from the live floor to the control room. So I was ready to go streaming at any point, basically. And I was working on different records where anytime I would like the band and know that what they play in the record, they can also do live and sound tight, you know, and sound in tune. And we weren't doing a lot of tricks to make them sound good on the record itself. We would just stream it. Then when COVID-19 started, then I started seeing that people were having their shows canceled. My band had a few shows canceled as well. And that same night I said, well, you know, I have all the gear at the studio. So if we already had the night booked off to do this show, let's just go to the studio and do this stream, you know, just for fun. Obviously that one doesn't sound that good because I'm in the live floor at the same time and I'm playing bass and I'm sort of like making a static mix with faders at one level and then just play. But I knew that if someone else was playing, then I could be behind the board and, you know, move the faders as the song is happening, write the faders a little bit, turn off reverb in between songs, you know, change my compression settings if the song was too loud or whatever. And then I started offering, I was like, okay, I have a grand piano in my studio. I have drums, everything's mic'd, everything's set up, there's amps. So for a band to come and do a 1 hour stream, let's say, all they would need is to book the studio for really just 2 hours, because they would just roll in. We would get sounds, which again, I'm all in the universal audio world. So, you know, it's pretty quick to get good sounds with that. And then we would just go live through their Facebook or through their YouTube, and I would just charge as a studio. And then obviously some of them were like, well, but we're not getting any tickets, you know, like we're not doing any of that. And I would sort of have to explain like, yeah, but, you know, I'm not a venue. I'm not selling alcohol. I'm not, you know, so you have to look at it as yeah, you have to hire the studio to be able to do this stream. And in that, if that's the case, then you have to think of other ways to generate money from it. So, you know, Patreon and even email money transfers, or some people did like PayPal me or whatnot. And then they started realizing that they could get money just playing from home. You know, like Sarah's Lean is one of the first ones that I did that way. And she had...
Spell her name for me.
Sarah is Sarah, and the last name is Slean. So yeah, she ended up doing one. She's done now 2 or 3, I think, with an average of 700 or 800 people watching at $7.
Really? Is this the one that you were doing through Side Door for like $7 each?
Yeah, that's the first one I did with Side Door, and not knowing Dan Mangan from Side Door or even Side Door, I just knew.
And you used Zoom?
Yeah, we used Zoom for that.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
you made it sound good. So we'll get into that, but go ahead.
Right. So yeah, that was the first one that happened. Like, and then as soon as that happened, then everyone realized, okay, yeah, we can definitely monetize on these. And let's do. And obviously, the appeal of doing it at the studio was
$5,000.
Yeah, $4,900 just to play in your house.
I mean, this was unpremeditated, and they just decided to do it, and 700 people just paid $7.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? If there was one possible explanation for that, it's probably 100 reasons, but that's the hard part. It's not that. I mean, it's not rocket science to get this thing live, but why did 700 people just decide to do this if they probably hadn't done it before?
Well, I think it's because everyone's stuck at home and shows are canceled, you know? So sure, you can spend all day watching, you know, YouTube, like old concerts from whatever, but it's different. It's different. Like there's an appeal for people to be watching something that's happening live.
But why her? Why her stream? They could have gone to countless other streams and paid more or less money. Why hers? Why that one?
Well, she's pretty well known in Canada. Like she was signed to a big label and has been releasing things really often. She's sort of had a hiatus for a few years, but now she's back. I think it was partly because she doesn't play live that much. Like she hadn't been doing, you know, like 200 shows a year or 80 shows a year or anything even close to that. So there were a lot of people in Europe, for example, that had seen her maybe like 5 or 10 years ago, and she had not toured there in a while. So there was a bit of everyone just wants to see what's going on. And I think the second aspect as to why it was like people wanted to see it is because it sounded great. You know, like it was one of these, obviously the first one is a bit harder, but I think that once people are watching and there is a big difference between just the phone recording and what was happening from her, then people started joining a bit more. And then the next one had even more people. And then it just starts sort of rolling from there, you know? It depends on how savvy you are with social media, really, you know? All she did was post on Facebook, and that's how she got 4,900 people.
I want to ask you about what you mentioned on, hey, Hannah, Good to see you. Charging. You said there's two things I want to ask about. One is, from what I understand, the way you've described it so far, you're basically approaching the live stream as a, well, we might as well. In other words, you set up everything. We're going to be here. The sonics are going to be great. We'll have everything set up. Why don't we just in case kind of a thing, we'll set up the video so that if we decide to, it's a click and now we're live. Is that pretty much accurate?
Exactly. Yeah. And also, even if we don't go live, then this is footage that you can use for the teaser of the album, for example, right? People right now are listening to music, but it's a lot of seeing as well. Like that happened from MTV, I guess, killing a radio star, you know. And now it's also the making sure that then you can see the people working in the studio. That's not something that the audience gets to see often. They see the stage and they see all these things, but you know, seeing people with headphones, like looking at each other and like talking, I don't know. I love that. That's why I started sound engineering in the first place and producing. And I think there's a lot of people that resonate with that. And even more so now where everyone's stuck at home, or most people, and they're learning how to use programs and all this stuff. So it's reassuring to see other people going through struggles as well, I find.
Right.
Like I wanted to even do a few records where we just had the cameras live going the whole time. You know, if they want to see us fighting over whether a chord works in a section or not, then great. There's people that want to watch that, you know?
Yeah. The other thing I like about it is it sort of takes the preciousness and pressure off. You're running the tape. You might not even use it. You might not even go live. You might throw all that stuff away and use tomorrow's or whatever. So just having it on and sort of not caring is a really nice and different. I haven't heard anybody say, just turn the camera on and don't care. And then decide at that moment, hey, this is, I'm getting a vibe here. Should we flip it on? That's
Right.
different than, okay, we're going to do a live stream. Everybody ready? Does it sound okay? Nobody get nervous. That's the whole people start acting thing. They're like, oh, it's a live stream. Shit, you know.
Yeah.
It sort of breaks the vibe. Whereas if you just do it, and probably after you do it 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 times, 10 times in a row, nobody cares anymore. And you can decide, you can sort of curate it. As far as charging, you mentioned that, well, I don't really, or at least at that moment that you described, I didn't really charge people for the video part. I charged them the normal rate for the session, and then we just flip the camera on. Is that, number one, is that something that you think is kind of the best way to do it moving into it? Yeah, is that sort of the best way to start doing this for studios?
It depends. Like in my case, I operate a studio where like I have nice things and I have nice microphones and nice instruments and all that stuff, but I have zero outboard gear. Like I don't have a single compressor or EQ. Everything is in the box through universal audio things, right? Okay. So my rack is just like 6 units tall, and just because it has the 2 or 3 Apollos and some space in between so that they don't get hot. And I can move that in a backpack to somewhere else if I bring all the microphones and whatnot. So the option of having a long HDMI cable is like $60, and the camera I already had because, you know, I like taking pictures and I like filming things and learning how to edit those things that I film as well. So rather than it sitting in a corner because I'm making a record at the moment, then I just got a tripod and then the camera is there, you know, and sure, some people would say like, yeah, there's a charge that should be added to that, but it's hard to sell that originally because most bands don't want to do that in the first place. Like I said, you know, we're all very perfectionist in what we do. So it's almost like this thing of like, no, they can't see this thing before it's done, or they can't see. Yeah, someone, Humalens is saying, it's like listening to alternative takes. It's exactly that, right? Like once, and again, the part I love the most is how inspiring it is, because you see the artists that you love, you know, messing up or like trying ideas, and you can hear like this little riff that ended up on a song that you love and how it shaped from something else to where it is now. And And once you see that in other bands that you like, you're like, well, then what's wrong with me, showing that, basically, people want to see that. So I think that's how we started it. And I was thinking, like, okay, how do I sell this to people? Like, do I tell them, hey, for $1,000 you can come to the studio and do this, and we can do an hour of recording, and then you have the video and you own that stuff and you have it? Or, let's record, and then since we're here already, let's go. I found that was a huge difference, because, as you're saying, the pressure was lifted, right? There was not oh my God, I'm spending so much money to do this thing. I have to make sure I look good. I have to make sure that I play the right part. And then you make a mistake and you're just going to be thinking about it the whole song, if not the whole concert, because it's there forever, right? I found the option of, like, hey, I'm just going to hit record on this, and after a little bit, then people would just stop thinking about it. And then that's when you get magic, I find.
Awesome.
So for that, I preferred not to charge extra. Obviously, if people said, okay, but I want 3 different shots and I want some movement on cameras, and I'm like, okay, then we need to get someone to operate the video, because I'm not going to do it, because I want to be mixing the sound. I can switch between cameras. I can mix live sound and also have a monitor where I have the 3 cameras and then just switch between those. That I can do, but I'm not going to also move the camera around. And if I do, then there is an added cost, because we need to make sure that person is paid as well,
Right. What are some things that are, so you would basically move into the point where you're charging someone when and if it gets to the point where something's coming out of your pocket. We need another camera person, or we need, I don't know, some materials, or we need extra lighting or something like that. You would just sort of budget that in. But it sounds like the big takeaway is, look, don't charge people in the early stages of doing this, and just let people get comfortable with it and see if they like it. And then there might be some premium things that you charge for. Exactly.
Like, for example, there were a couple of bands that didn't want to do the stream, or sorry, they had a bit of a smaller budget. So they couldn't hire another person, but they only wanted to do 1 song. So, like, for 1 song, it gets like, oh yeah, we have 3 people in the studio. It just gets to a lot of money. So I said, look, if you just want to do 1 song, what we can do is come to the studio, right? And I think we got sounds and make sure that everyone could hear themselves in maybe something like half an hour, let's say. And then in the other half an hour, we recorded the same song, let's say 4 or 5 times. Then they picked 1 take that they liked the best. Then I did a quick live mix of it. And then I played that song back. And because I only had 1 camera, while they were playing back to the other song, I went in and I started just doing other shots. And because it's the same song and it's all done to a click, in the other hour, I stitched the video together and then did a few cuts here and there. And in 2.5 hours, they had a song mixed, played live, and with 3 different shots.
How did you do shots after the fact?
Well, they were doing playback. Like the first take they did was the live one, right? And I said, we're not gonna edit between songs, between takes. Sorry, like you pick take 4 was the best, then that's the take we go with. And then I would just press play. Now they can hear the same thing, and they would pretend to be playing.
Okay, right. Like for a music video, just kind of lip sync it.
Exactly, just lip sync it, and now because it's already mixed. Now I can just walk around and make sure to get some close up and whatever I need to get, and then I stitch it together, and it's quick because in DaVinci or Final Cut or whatever, you have an option of syncing using the audio channel or the audio track. So yeah, it was super easy. Obviously, if you want color grading or more shots or whatnot, then it takes more time, but for what they wanted, it was like, less than 3 hours, and you have a video going.
Do you think it's realistic at this moment to technologically be able to do what you just described remotely? In other words, hey guys, I'm in Toronto, you guys are in LA, you guys have some decent gear, I can control your screen remotely with whatever, Zoom or Google, with your Chrome thing you talked about. Mm-hmm. I can hear it more or less in real time, so I can hear what it sounds like. and I can walk you guys through maybe, put that mic a little closer to the amp or whatever. But is it realistic to be able to do something like that remotely, or are we too early for that?
No, I mean, that's sort of what I've been doing already. If you want to change through cameras, then it does become a bit harder, mainly because you might be getting the audio back like 5 or 6 seconds later, let's say, which is already way too long. But for the example I just said of like, recorded, and I have Pro Tools open in my computer using audio movers. I'm able to receive all their tracks separate, and I'm mixing live, and then I send them a mix of the best one they have, and then they just put the camera in different places. They upload it to a Dropbox, and then I stitch it together and send it back. And I'm controlling the audio, and I'm controlling the video, and I'm controlling the shots as well.
Let's talk about pre-production. That's actually a good seg. So let's say you're doing that for a band. And you talked about this last time, how important it is to walk through some pre-production stuff so you don't have something that later isn't really all that usable. So what would you say are some aspects of pre-production that you would imagine? Do you have a checklist? And if not, what are some things that you would have on a checklist?
Well, normally my first question whenever I get a request for consultation from someone is to ask what gear they have, just to see what they can use. And also the other one is what their vision of the video, is, because I'm not going to suggest to someone, oh, you should get 3 cameras and get lights and all these things if they're like, no, but I like how it sounds from the phone, and I don't want to get it too complicated. So my first thing on pre-production is make sure to know what their expectations are, and what kind of gear they have. Sometimes people might say like, oh, I only have 1 microphone, but they also have a little mixer they use for their rehearsal plays, for example. And I'm like, okay, there's something we can use to work here,
Yeah.
So yeah, knowing what they have, I would say, making sure that they have microphones, making sure that they have some sort of a DAW, I would say would be the next one. If they're on Mac, making sure that they have loopback so that we can send the output of the DAW to the stream, for example. And then, that's pretty much it, I would say.
Well, you had talked about before this sort of scenario. I forget the details of it, but you had done, by the way, Llama, thanks for coming in and inviting your friends. It's good to see you again. You had talked about this scenario with like the kids choir that was backing up something you did locally, and like each of them was, a different distance from the camera. Some of them had it horizontal, not vertical. Like
Right.
There's all these little tiny things that if you don't spell them out ahead of time, you could have the best performance in the world, but it sort of doesn't snap together. So what are some of those things that are helpful to have on kind of a checklist, do you think?
Right. Well, normally I do a meeting through Zoom, for example, right? So let's say that I'm going to do something with a choir of 50 people. Then I make sure that those 50 people come on a Zoom conference or Skype or whatever you want to use. And then that their parents are there in the case of kids, right? Because they can listen to what I'm saying, but then once they record it, it's going to be completely different. And then, making sure the video is on landscape, right? So that means that it's like this, not like how Instagram puts it on portrait. Because if you're going to be putting like little squares of people playing, and I'm like this close to the camera, and you only have like that much to crop, and then someone else is like, super, super far. It's like it, or I got also some videos from people that just film it like this. And sometimes they would be looking up and I'm only seeing their chin, basically,
Yeah.
So I would sort of, the advantage of having this setup is that then I could physically explain to them like, okay, make sure that your head is not cut by this thing. Make sure that you're in focus. Make sure that the light is happening this way.
Right.
So making sure that you have a good frame, making sure that you have good lighting. Another thing I tell them is make sure that you start recording a few seconds before the song actually starts. That's a huge one that again, a lot of these things seem like they're common sense, but when someone is new to things, you know, you're going to make those mistakes. Those are just common sense in my case, because I've made those mistakes already. So yeah, making sure that they have a lot of time before the song starts, making sure that there's a lot of time after as well, right? Sometimes you want to do a bit of a fade out, and then someone just starts going to the camera to turn it off as soon as they stop singing.
And it's the only person that goes...
Yeah. And then there's nothing, like, now you have to cut everyone because of this person, you know?
Yeah.
So in the video world, they will say, make sure that you have handles, you know, on each side.
Right.
So that you can, you know, it's open the video to either the beginning or the end. Also sample rate. And the best way I find to explain this to people that don't know what that is using the analogy of frame rate, you know, and how in video, you know, movies are in 24 frames per second, but then if you use 60 frames per second, then you have like the soap opera kind of effect, and how the audio is taking samples every second. And if you don't do it the same way that I do, then it's going to be different frequency response. Obviously, between 44 and 48, there's not going to be a lot of difference. At least I don't find it. But
what do you tell people to use?
Most of the time, I tell them to stay with 44.1. Now, if this is for a recording that I'm doing, I usually use 48. I don't go to 88.2 and 86 or 96.
Yeah, it's just huge files.
It's huge files, and adding them to Dropbox just takes forever. 48 I find sounds good, and it gives me good, you know, good representation of high frequencies as well.
Do you have, this may sound stupid, but you sort of alluded to it before, do you have to make people kind of go like, yes, so you can sync up the video later with the audio?
Yes, and I thought that was also foolproof, but then sometimes people would just clap at a random moment.
Yeah.
You know, I did a classical one where there was a count-in, and then some people, like the cello didn't come till the fifth measure, and then they clap some time in the second. They didn't understand the concept of clapping. They thought that the clapping was just to sync their video with their audio. But what I wanted it there was so that I could just sync a lot more easily on everything, right? So then,
so you wanted all of them to clap all at the same time. Oh, I didn't even realize that. I see. So you want like one master.
Yeah, because then visually, or for the program, you can just align all the claps in.
Gotcha.
And then you don't have to worry about the sync for the later.
Yeah, but that's sort of impossible to get 30 people on 30 videos to clap at exactly the same millisecond, right?
True, but you can get really close. What I would do is, let's say that if the song was at 120 BPM, I would do a count-in that's actually, let's say, five beats instead of 4, right? So I'm like, okay, you're gonna hear 1, 2, 3, 4, and then everyone claps 5. Yeah, exactly. So sure, it's like a bit of a where everyone's clapping in different milliseconds.
But you average out and you kind of know where the sweet spot is, and most people are more or less on time. And it's like vocal line or something. You're like, it's kind of right there.
It's around there, and once you put 50 people on the screen, if some of them are milliseconds off, no one really can tell, you know?
Right. Tori wants to see this process. You guys nerding out? You guys having fun? This is great. Okay, so this is so awesome. And I really like that we're able to touch upon that stuff too, because this is going to run actually in 3 different music industry publications. One, which is the A&R registry, 100% of this discussion is going to apply no matter what we talk about. But the second one, which is the Film and TV Music Guide, is a lot about syncing music up, getting music placed, or doing post-production and all this kind of stuff. So there's going to be people who not only are familiar with these concepts, but they're doing things right now during this kind of COVID weirdness that they need to create content. They need to work with content. They're going to need to do some sort of live version of stuff they're normally going to do in a studio. So some of these visual and audio things put together is really useful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see what else. For the remote desktop thing, you had mentioned Zoom and Google Chrome. Do you have a preference? And is there anything that is sort of buggy or setup wise needs to be sort of thought through so that that works the way you want it to when you're controlling someone's screen remotely?
Well, I find lately that Zoom is the one that's working best for that. Mainly, like the Chrome setup, the Google Chrome setup is a bit more straightforward, but the problem is that because it's going through a browser window instead of an app that's installed in your computer, especially on Mac and on newer devices with like Mojave to Catalina, for example, they have to click through so many security preferences to allow video to go to the browser and then allow remote control to happen on accessibility and system preferences and all that stuff. And the disadvantage of doing it with Chrome is that every time they say, yes, I want to do this, then they need to quit Chrome and then come back and then generate another code. So we sometimes would have to do that like 3 or 4 times, which is not a big deal. But by the 3rd time, the person is a bit annoyed, which, I mean, I'm not concerned that they're annoyed. I'm just worried that then they're not going to be listening as much because they're worried that maybe it's not working the way it's supposed to be working. I find that with Zoom, it's just like, hey, do you see your face in the thing? See where it says share a screen? Okay, click there. And then they click there. And then I can see the screen without any security preference thing. And then from Zoom itself, I just go to, request remote control. And they get a window that says, hey, are you okay to give remote control to Guillermo? And then you do have to do something in system preferences. But by that time, I can already see your screen. So I can tell you, okay,
you can do it.
Click there, click here, and then as soon as they do that, we're still in the conversation. And now I move the mouse and I say, can you see the mouse moving? Yes. Okay, I'm going to start using your computer now.
Awesome. So Zoom. And Rizzieri is convinced that, Chrome makes it difficult for Apple and Apple makes it difficult for Chrome because of the Google. But I think it could be, but it sounds like Zoom. Also, Zoom, I mean, Zoom's a paid for, or at least you can get it as a paid for service. So I think it's a little bit more professional and robust and reliable, and they've got, money on the line. So I think they're going to make sure that it's easy to use and things like that.
Totally. I just finished doing a project with the UN. The refugee department ended up doing this thing with the Shlomo Mintz and like some amazing, classical music players. And I also got hired by, I'm working on a project with Creative Commons as well. But they have a lot of presenters that are not in the music world. And a lot of them have security issues with someone using their computer. So they don't want to use Zoom because they're worried that not me, but like it's going to open a window into their computer that's going to make things a bit more complicated. So I find that for that, there's other options. Chrome is a bit more secure because it's a browser and you can just close it and the connection is basically.
Okay.
And I'm on the lookout for something similar to that that's a bit more encrypted so that, these people that still have BlackBerries because, of security things, then we're still able to do it. Some of them we still won't open their computer. And at that point, what I'm doing is a bit of a video where I instruct them how to do things, or else just a phone conversation where, it's a bit more difficult. But again, these are people that have
a little more secure.
Yeah, exactly. But for musicians, no one's going to steal your record. Like there's so much music out there that unless you're, someone like Radiohead, and at that point they're just going to put it out.
Even Radiohead says, "Hey, just pay us what you want." I mean, if Radiohead's doing that, then anyway, OBS. I think one thing that would be interesting is for people that, I was thinking about Annie. I was thinking about WebEx myself, and there's some other platforms I've used over the years. Like there used to be something that was used called Go to My PC. There's lots of probably players in the space that have certain strengths and weaknesses. Good point, Annie. OBS. I think what would be useful for our readers in particular is, what are the first couple things you should learn how to do in OBS?
how to add sources and to understand what sources are. What sources and scenes. That's basically the two main things in OBS, right?
And sources, you mean audio sources?
Well, sources can be anything. Like when you open OBS, you're in a scene 1, let's say that is called, right? Which just means that it's configuration 1, okay? And then it says add sources, and these sources are your camera if you want them to see you, and then your audio if you want them to hear you. Right. So those are sources. Sources can be different cameras as well. Like if I have 2 cameras, then I would have to add another image capture source, right? And then I can put it on OBS. Now, if I want to, for example, have one scene where I'm doing this, and then on a different scene, it goes from a camera that's off to the side, then I would have to create another scene. And then in that second scene, add the audio input, which in this case would be the same, right? You have to add them, everyone individually again for every scene. And then instead of image capture Sony 6500, it would be image capture A6500, or sorry, the Logitech HD 1080 or whatever. And then for this YouTube tutorial I did, for example, some of the scenes had other sources, like a picture of a camera and a microphone. That's also a source, right? So that scene had a source of my camera, the one you're seeing live now, but now cropped a lot smaller so that you can see kind of like a picture-in-picture thing. And then the other source was, in this case, an image, right? Which would be a picture of what I wanted to have. And then I would overlay it. It works kind of like DaVinci Resolve, where everything that's on top is going to be what you see, right? So if I put my camera first and then I add a picture, by default, the picture is going to cover my whole image.
Got it.
But you can just drag, whatever you drag at the top is what you can see. And then, yeah, you can crop each of those ones and resize them and transform. You just right click on the source and you see the option for transform, and you can invert it. You can change the tilt or whatever. And then you can also add other sources, like a video can be a source, like a music video, for example. And then you save each of those into scenes, right? And then once you have all your scenes prepared, once you're running the show, all you need to do is press down on the keyboard, right? So the first scene, for example, you could make it so that it has no audio input, but only a picture that says coming soon, right? And then you make sure that your stream is working, that you see on Facebook and whatever, that it says coming soon, and you're like, okay, we're live. And then you press down, and then your camera opens, and they can hear you as well. And then you just start your whole presentation.
Tori's loving this.
And then you say, now I want to show you a video from this band and whatever. That's also another scene. And all I need to do is press down, and my microphone mutes because I didn't add that source on that scene, right? It's just a video, and then they can see it and hear it and all that stuff.
Okay, that's great. I think that's as deep as I want to go with that. One other sort of side question is, for OBS, where are some good places to learn about OBS? Like, do you have a YouTube channel? Are there other YouTube channels? Are there books? Are there experts? Are there places where if someone wanted to spend the weekend or whatever and just learn some things about OBS, what are some places that are reliable sources that you like?
YouTube, really. I just use YouTube for that. Sure, there's tutorials that are really long and they explain things really well, but I'm one of those people that I like reading the manual. So I open the manual for OBS and I sort of would read it every now and then, not using it right away, but just sort of reading it. And then I would open the program and just make mistakes and get frustrated and figure things out. And then whatever I couldn't figure out, I would just look on YouTube. It's like, how do I make it so that I can hear my microphone in YouTube? And there's thousands, if not millions of tutorials. I would just go with the ones that have the most likes, the most followers. Sure. And then sometimes even now when I'm doing the dishes, I'll because I'm searching things on OBS all the time, YouTube will suggest video gamers are the ones that have their OBS game the most figured out. It's pretty crazy. But they say, oh, you can have this plugin where now you have a spectrogram of the audio that's live, for example. So I'm talking, and if I do, you will see the whole thing moving and all that stuff. Or how to make it so that when I change from scenes, instead of just like flipping to the next image, maybe there's an animation where I start moving this way or whatever. It's all on YouTube, and that's kind of my school for that. I use Groove 3 as well. It's a website that has courses and whatnot. It doesn't have anything for OBS, but that's another resource that I have for other programs and whatnot. Masterclass sure has nothing on OBS, but I find that all these little things, LinkedIn Learning as well has, I don't know, because those things have tips and things regarding cameras and lighting and all that stuff, you know. So I integrate a bit of combinations from all these different platforms.
Rizzieri, that's a really good question that I've never actually thought about. So Rizzieri's asking, if I understand you correctly, let's say you're doing a simulcast, you're using Caster or whatever, and you're on, let's say you're on Twitch, and you'd like for the comments from, I don't know, you now to show up on your Twitch feed. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Oh, it is, okay.
Everything. Basically, I mean,
everything's possible.
Everything's possible, yeah. It gets complicated because a lot of these things, sometimes you can do using plugins, right? OBS is an open source software. So people develop on the community for OBS, like their forum, for example. There's all these plugins that people are creating all the time, and they're all really useful. And some of them include how to add comments from you now, how to add comments from this other thing. If there's no way to do that, what I've seen other people do is that you create another source in OBS, and that source can be a screen capture, and that screen capture you can trim so that it only shows that
little message.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's workarounds.
There's workarounds. Yeah, it's an open source kind of. People are probably coming up with new stuff literally every day. I think my last question, and I want to open it up. You guys have been patient. I'm not crazy about this format, to be honest with you, because I love being able to just sort of rapid fire get some questions from you. But I also feel like I'm kind of semi turning my back on you guys for the last 20, 30 minutes because I'm just trying to get stuff for an article. But you tell me, like, was this cool, or you guys just, kind of going about your day and listening to us, hopefully. My last question is, you had alluded to, when you're working with different kinds of people and you've got these different variables that might be in play. You've got people that have certain kinds of gear. You have people that have certain kinds of operating systems they're using. You have people that have different maybe environments and acoustically, different, plugins and things they're using. What would be a way to kind of keep it simple so that you're not, as you're moving into this live streaming space in the first couple chapters of it, what do you tell people, or how do you organize your efforts? So you say, look, everyone's going to use, an Apogee duet or whatever the hell they're going to let's keep it. What is the sort of the simplest, most robust way to get your setup reliable?
Well, I would say to stay away for the most part from USB microphones. Like, I know I recommend people using them because it's a good option that it's cheap and you can make it work. But my problem with it is that it's not scalable. You can't really add anything else to it.
Right.
It's an interface with one input and two outputs left and right. And that's it, right? So Apogee is good, but it's a bit on the expensive side. So for someone that's just starting and now they're looking at how much it costs to add all these things, I would say the Focusrite interfaces are what's working out the best right now. They're not like, they don't sound like Universal Audio ones, but they sound better than an Mbox 1 or an Mbox 2 or like any of these older, like late 90s, early 2000 digital interfaces. So unless you're using like a really high-end digital interface, all the smaller ones sound pretty much the same. Sure, Apogee interfaces are gonna sound a little bit better than Focusrite, but what Zoom or YouNow or whatever streaming service you're using is doing to the audio, it doesn't matter. So just make sure that you get an interface that has at least 2 inputs, even if you're using only 1 input, I would say would be a good way to prove your rig for another year at least, you know?
Awesome. So it sounds like we have a 2.5. So we have the 1.0, which is just use your phone, get online, get a couple reps in. 2.0 is you can get that USB microphone. It's going to get you something. It's going to sound better than your iPhone. But there's a glass ceiling that you're going to hit pretty quickly. 2.5 is get a decent, you know, an M audio or a 2i2 or something that's like maybe not the A-list audio interface, but it allows you to move up quite a bit more. And then 3.0 is like, yeah, go crazy and get as many sort of specs to your audio interface and mic as you can.
And there might be a 2.75, which is to make sure that you get an interface that even if it has only 2 inputs, it might have...
2 is better than 1.
Yeah, 2 is better than 1. And also if there's one that has 2, but it also has an ADAT input, then that means, then that means that later on you can have 8 more without having to buy another interface. You just get an 8-channel preamp with an ADAT output, which can go used for like $300. And now you have 10 channels that you can connect to your system.
Do you have one in mind that comes to mind that's like, oh, well, a good example of what I just described is X, like just off top of your head?
the Apollo Twin would be a good one, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, because it also gets you in the world of Apollo already, which again, it's not that it's better than everyone else. What I like about it is that you can have the audio a bit more processed before it goes to the stream, just by using their EQs and compression and all that stuff.
Cool. I had one question that came to me earlier this morning from a studio that's rolling a lot of stuff out. They happen to be in Atlanta, and the studio owner was asking, like, how do I price this stuff? How do I charge this stuff? So again, just on his behalf, and then I want to let you guys ask questions if you have them. Put them on now. Do you feel like there's, in a studio environment now, let's assume that this group of people can do things pretty professionally. They're pretty good at what they do, even though they might not be, they haven't done it for years and years and years, but they're pretty good at the live streaming game. What are some like ballpark, you know, rates or things? Because the market is kind of so weird and new right now. What do you think is sort of a fair range for some things that you could offer for live streaming?
Well, I would say that a fair charge might be like maybe 50% more than your just sound rate. And that's based out of based out of the fact that you might have nice cameras and all these things, but unless you've been streaming for as long as you've been doing sound, which in my case is definitely not the case.
I don't think anyone's is the case. I mean, maybe, but yeah.
Then it feels bad to charge the same, you know? So in my case, doing 50%, it's great for me because really I'm not doing that much more than adding sound. Once you have everything set up and everything's running and it becomes really automatic, you know? Like I don't get nervous if someone says, let's stream the session now, because it's already installed. It's already all ready to go.
So literally, if your normal rate's $200 an hour, you're like, you know what, for $300, let's just add the live stream and we'll go crazy with it. And that's kind of your use. I like that for a number of reasons. I feel like if, you know, different studios are at different levels of the game. Some studios are, you know, charging thousands and thousands of dollars a day, and some are charging a few $100s a day. And you have a certain kind of clientele, a certain kind of expectation, and a certain vibe in the room, and all that kind of stuff. If you make it a function of what you're already charging, and just make it a sort of 50% bump, then I feel like, I mean, even if you did 20 or 30% instead of 50 as you're getting into it, it's a function of the normal rate card. And that feels very natural and almost just like a premium offering. It's not like, oh, if you want to pay for live streaming, that's a different thing over here. I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's a natural way to do it.
And I think that not just that, but it also, like the fact that you're not charging 100% more, like you're not just like bumping everything just because of the Zoom thing. It actually creates more business, I find. Because then those people that you do streams with, they might say, well, I like the video, but it would be cool to do one that's more produced. So then you just charge the 200 for those next ones, you know, like.
What do you think of the idea of not charging, of maybe not charging for a certain amount of time just to get people in and trying it and loving it? Is that,
Totally.
you like that idea? Okay.
That's how I started the actual streaming, because again, the first idea of the streaming I didn't do with people that I was recording at that moment. I had recorded, but then we finished the album 6 months ago, and I would say like, hey, do you want to come back to the studio and we can do this streaming thing? And at first I did it free because I was learning, right? I didn't want the pressure of the band being like, hey, my Instagram fans are waiting for me. Where's this thing not working? It's super, super stressful when you're just learning that.
Yeah.
So it would, and my thought was like, well, why is the band want to pay for this? Like, what's the motivation for them to pay for this if they haven't seen how it looks like yet, or any of these things, right? And also, radio stations, at least that I know of, if someone's doing like a press tour or something like that, they don't really pay bands for interviews and for those kind of things. You know, it's more of a reciprocity thing where like, yes, you're giving us content for the radio show, let's say, and then the band is also getting their promotion to the fans of the radio station and whatnot. So at first I treated it like a live show, right? Where the band comes, they do 3 songs, and then I'm doing a interview in between the songs where I ask them about their songwriting process and all that stuff. So then for them, it's like, well, that sounded great. If this is a band I never recorded, they're going to love it. If it's a band that they've done streams before, but not in this exact same way, they're going to be like, oh, this was the best stream we've had so far. And then they're going to come back and do a record with you, you know, and it's just that little taste that made them realize and see that you were calm because you weren't stressed, because you weren't charging them premium for something that you don't know how to do well yet.
Is it weird then to move into something that was free 6 months ago, but you're now charging for it?
I don't know. I think it happened, at least in my case, it happened pretty organically, you know, like once they see it and other people are talking about what you're doing, then people realize the value of what you're offering, and they're a lot more respectful for sure.
Dope. Awesome. So this was amazing. I got what I needed. I'm going to send you, just between you and me, I'm going to send you something by, man, you have so much going on in your life. I feel bad to do this, but like, I'll probably send you something by like Saturday evening, just so you can put eyes on this and say, yeah, this is actually what I meant to say. And then it'll be a shared Google Doc, and you can change stuff, you can add stuff, you can subtract stuff, whatever you want. And then my hard deadline is Monday afternoon, but I'd like to get it in by Sunday afternoon, just because, as you know, there's always something that comes up at the last minute. Oh, and send me some pictures. If you want to send me, I don't know if Tori reached out to you, but nice headshot, maybe a logo if you have something for Pacha Sound or for Stream TuneUp or both. Any action photos you want us to look at, send me all that stuff by whatever way is convenient for you. And this will be great, man. I'm super glad we were able to do this, and I think it'll be useful for you guys in a couple of weeks to have this stuff written out as well. So. A lot of comments here. I'm catching up with Tori. That's totally fine. I know you got to go for your phone meeting and stuff like that. Do you guys have any questions for Guillermo? You can roll them out if you want to. Of course, you can reach him at Pacha Sound or Stream TuneUp. Is it streamtuneup.com?
Yeah.
So those are probably just, it's easier for me to just say it than have Tori type it in one more time. We're going to be doing more stuff on our Discord, and we're going to be starting to become more hip to that and how to create more of a community there as well. So we're getting there. Karen, it's good to see you. Who else is on here? Come on, you guys have any questions? Like, you got the man. You got the man.
I see Carabera gave I think it's a question, but I'm not sure I understand what it means. No, because you weren't good enough and had the word of mouth. Then when you do, you can.
In other words, I think what she's saying is that SEG that anyone in music understands when you're, maybe you do free shows at a restaurant for a week and then they're like, so there's this word of mouth element, right? No, it was a comment about the free to charge transition. Exactly.
Right.
In other words, you do it for free for a while and then word of mouth market pressure, just eventually someone's willing to pay you X for it because they know that you're worth that. And then that sort of moves the needle. I think that's the spirit of what what you're saying, Karen. Is that
it's a great way to build portfolio, I find. Like, a month ago I was not a video editor, and like yesterday when they did the premiere of this UN thing, to see my name as like film editor Guillermo Subauste in the UN's website, it's like, what? How did that happen?
Have you ever done music supervision?
No, not yet.
You should, and I would love to. If there's just some small way I can kind of reciprocate. You've given us so much knowledge on this, and we really, I've said it about 800 times, I feel like, but we really appreciate you coming on and educating us all. But you obviously have a background as a producer, as a musician. Have you scored films ever?
Yeah, I've done some scoring.
Okay. So even just that, I'd like to mention that in the piece so that people that are reading it in the Film and TV Music Guide can be like, oh, have anything specific that you might mention that you've scored? Documentaries, indie films, feature films, anything?
Yeah, I worked with Aaron Davis, this amazing piano player, on a film that was done here in Canada through CBC, which is called Dreaming of a Jewish Christmas. And it is just it's how about all Christmas carols come from Jewish composers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. You should check it out. And another one I worked on with the Sadies was a show called Dallas and Robo, which was a YouTube only, like YouTube channel, YouTube,
original or
service.
Something.
Yeah. With like, what's the name of that fighter? Cena? Something Cena? Mike Cena? No, Mike Cena. CENA.
Rings a bell, but I'm not. Yeah, I know you're talking about, but I don't know enough to.
John Cena, thank you. Cena. Yeah. And they was the same company that made BoJack Horseman as well, and all those people. Yeah, it was really cool.
You know what? That reminds me. You made a couple of references to this thing with the children's choir on the last stream, and I wasn't sure if I got the details of like what exactly that project was and who it was for, and like what to call that if I reference it.
Well, it was Bravo Niagara is the company that did it.
Okay.
It's a organization that has a really awesome venue in the Niagara region in Canada, and they did a series. It's called the Festival of the Arts is thrilled to launch Amplified, a virtual video recording series to unite our global family of artists and audiences. And I'm gonna put the title. Yeah, I know. I just put the link to the video there in the comments.
Cool. Awesome, thank you.
And then it was basically 150 performers playing "We Are the World" with some choirs, sure, but like again, Quincy Bullen was in it, and Kumalo. Bakiti Kumalo was playing bass, and like a lot of Misha Bergosman, a soprano from here, as well as singing in it. Just watch the video; it's very interesting.
I had a vision in my head from our conversation the last time about. I don't know if you've ever been to like an old style, movie theater like they had back in the days of like the talkies, where you'd have someone live on a.
Whoops! Sorry, my battery just died.
I always take that as a sense of pride when I like destroy my phone.
Hold on, I have another battery.
We can hear you. So my question is like, wouldn't it be cool to have, when you go to these theaters and someone's on an organ, and they can perform live to the film, and they're playing to it? Wouldn't it be cool if like you're doing something, theatrical or some sort of narrative or some sort of video content that's happening live, and then you've got someone there that's kind of playing alongside it? Probably not that difficult to do, but it came to me when you were saying, like the future of this that excites me is being able to do stuff in real time. Do you know of anyone that's done kind of like a real time composing, sort of inspired by what Karen was saying?
I have to think about that a little bit. I think Niagara as well. In there,
they have
a really cool theater where they have they have sensors that can read like electricity impulses in people's brains. And they're doing a lot of experiments where they have performers, and they are measuring people's responses in the audience as well. So yeah, there's a lot, and then the visuals change depending on what the people are feeling as well. And I love all that different integration, as you're saying, of what's happening in the image with what the music does and how it makes us feel and how we react to it. Yeah, like, but for that, I would say it's good to connect with other people that are working in all these different platforms, because even though I'm doing sound and video and all these things, I find that there's other people that are really, have a lot of expertise in all these other things. And I am definitely interested in joining with others to do multidisciplinary projects,
For sure.
I
yeah,
think
likewise. I think that would be fun. And I definitely want to stay in touch with you to, I feel like I want to make this I was saying this in the beginning of our stream today. Like, I want to make this into a space, like a collaborative space where people can not only learn and connect and, work together and get hired and stuff like that, but also just like, hey, I have this idea and I don't know how to do it. Maybe I can find some cool people in this little community here. So
totally.
I like some of your ideas, Karen. Thank you so much. Guillermo, I'm going to let you get back to your life because your life is amazing. And we're flattered and honored to be a part of it for the last hour or so. Thank you so much again. Congratulations. And, be well, stay well. And I will send you an email Saturday night, and we'll get you some ink here shortly.
Awesome.
Thank you so much again, man.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for showing me you now. It's in my list of things to learn, but yeah, I was probably gonna wait another week or so till maybe.
Yeah, you got time. You got time. And it goes without saying, but like, as things move forward, if there's things I can help you with, if it's maybe as you get to know the publications or anything with music supervision, if you're trying to figure out rights and licensing and pitching and anything like that may be remotely that I can help you with and reciprocate a little bit, don't hesitate, man. Yeah.
I'm definitely really, really interested in all that stuff. So yes.
So I'm going to get you a copy of the Film and TV Music Guide, which is a good primer for that. It's also got a lot of contacts. But as you know, like, having someone's phone number and email is 1% of it. It's knowing what to have for them and how to do that. That's most of it. But absolutely, keep me in mind.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Guillermo.
Bye, everyone.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Guys, thank you so much. That was super fun. I hope that was fun for you guys. Yeah, that one was, I needed to be a little bit, focused on getting some information from Guillermo. What are you guys up to? Karen, those are some really good thoughts at the end. I'm glad you're like as psyched about this stuff as I am. I think there's so many possibilities here. I mean, the other side of it is that there's a lot of people on you now. There's a lot of people on Twitch that are wow. There's a lot of people on these platforms that are doing that stuff kind of already. They're sort of playing in real time and creating a vibe. Matt Walden's a good example. There's a lot of piano players and keyboard players that are doing that. So it's already happening, I think, in somebody's room by themselves. But it's the idea of connecting people in other locations simultaneously and doing that in a creative way. I think that's really, really cool. Anybody want to pop on for a second? I got to go at 11:30, so I got like 8 minutes. But if anyone wants to chat and show their pretty face, I know you guys are hams. Anybody want to hop on, chat with us a little bit, see who's here? I hope I got to everybody's questions. If you guys email me questions, I do ask them. And I know sometimes I don't tell you guys about these things until like the day before. It's just because there's a lot of stuff going on. Sounds good. Hey, Karen, let's do it. I will in 2 minutes. Wait, so that means you're ready to come on now, or you want me to wait 2 minutes? I think it means you want me to wait, so I'll wait. But I'll bring you on in a second. I will say, okay, let's do it.
Okay, sorry, I was heading up the stairs to the studio, so.
That's okay. That's how we know it's real.
Yeah. So I've had a lot going on the platform. They have kind of like American Idol on here. I don't know if you've been following that.
I've been sort of picking up bits and pieces of it, but tell me more about what's going on.
Well, we've got the Rise Your Mic going on.
Rise for Mic? Is that what it's called?
Rise Your Mic.
Okay.
It's always really big. That's going on, but simultaneously, I had an idea because we have, a lot of love coming to the higher tiered musicians. I mean, they're doing really well and they're thriving on here. And so I wanted to figure out a way that we could like incorporate just the listeners and the fans, because I feel like they're kind of being left out.
What do you mean?
They enjoy it and they love watching us do our thing. Yeah. But they're kind of just in the chat always, And so I was like, what can we do to like get them going? Involved. So I decided to do a lip sync battle. Good idea. You don't need any skills. You don't, if you're running internal sound, you really don't even need to make any noise. And you get all the TikTokers and all that stuff. Totally. Because that's what they do on there.
So are you imagining that like let's say you're doing the performance live and you're actually doing the music, and then I come on and I'm kind of like lip syncing along with you?
They bring their own music, whatever YouTube video they want to sing, they want to lip sync to.
Oh, and they lip sync just with their music playing in the background.
Yeah, with their own whatever. Yeah. Totally. And so I decided I was going to have 8 different partners, like higher up people with a lot of fans, stream a contest. And then at the end, the winners of each one will all go against each other. And then after that, the partners have a chance to go against each other and do a partner battle, which is cool for me to watch. But I've got like 22 partners now want to do it. So wow, really big above my ability. Like I've had to bring in a friend to do half of them because I can't do it. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on each one. So it'll be me and the partner and whoever they want to be the third judge. And we're making sure that there's no popularity contest kind of thing. So it's not based on how many fans you have. Yep. It's not based on the chat at all. It's just based on like, the comedy effect and their setup. Right.
The performance and what you bring.
Of the lip syncing, and how good they do.
Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to figure out how I can like get it on this platform. How would you advertise something like that? Because there's nowhere to really advertise. You don't have a Facebook page where you can put it on there. So we're
it's a great question.
Throw it up there on the stream and be like, "Come on, anybody!" You have to kind of be there to see it at that time. And if you don't, you miss it.
Right.
But I think there are going to be enough that after a few, like if you're interested, then you're going to know when the next one is. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, my impression of you now and the way people find out about stuff is, I guess there's not really like you can't raid deliberately into something like you can in Twitch, but people do find out about stuff by virtue of somebody else. Yeah. So I think it's like you just have to kind of go through the people that love you and talk about you. I don't think the wall really. It's okay.
I'm going to go to you now and try to get them to put a banner up on the main page, of course.
Right. Yeah.
It's my only hope for like a universal thing that everybody will see.
Right.
Just trying to figure out a way to market it. And really, there's no prize even right now except for like a clout and an air guitar. Like, like pride. So that's another thing we're working with partners and now to hopefully get some sort of a prize,
Okay.
Besides just, bragging rights.
What do you have like a time? Like, is it happening already, or is there a time that you're going to be having it live?
We're just setting it up now to where I'm getting an Instagram chat with all the hosts, and then they'll pick a time because I want to be able to hit every time zone because it's so crazy. Like I stay up all night, all the time, hanging out with my UK friends.
Uh-huh.
So I'm on a UK schedule, so I'm hanging out with them.
Got
So,
it.
but then you have like Germany schedule and like everybody's on a different time zone. So it's kind of
Right.
like, that's why I'm trying to diversify my hosts so that we hit everybody, you know, so that anybody who wants to will have a chance, and they don't have to wait up till 4 o'clock in the morning and do it on like my broadcast or something.
For sure.
You know, when they're in Jordan and it's 4
I
o'clock
think
in
it's
the
a
morning.
great idea.
I'm wondering about the copyright thing. I'm wondering how that's going to go. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'll have to look into that big time.
So
I've heard
from what little I've read about it, and I think that's a moving target, frankly, because I think a lot of this stuff is so new that it hasn't happened at scale enough that people set up laws that reflect their interests yet. But I would say that there's a big difference between someone that's just performing a song a cappella and someone who's got a master version, you know, of like the new Katy Perry song in the background. That's kind of that's where the problem starts, because if the minute you push play on something that's a copyrighted popular song and it's streaming, I think it either comes down to either the platform like a YouNow paying a license, and I think that's how it more or less works at the moment. But I think the other problem that's happening is that people are getting shut down if they're doing that too much, and it feels like people are consuming that music more or less for free.
And I know karaoke, like they get away with it because it's not really that art, and it's like just a little bit off enough to where it's legal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they'll change just something slight enough.
By the way, Ben is asking if he's still hosting you or not. I couldn't answer that question for him. I don't know.
Yes, I need help. Oh. Yes, I need help. He's my help. Yeah, I need help. You and Cozy are going to be helping me.
Tell me how I can help. Unfortunately, I got to jump. But we have a Discord, or if you want to, do you want me to email you or something so we can connect? It's up to you. But
Instagram is probably easy.
What is sure?
Or Twitter. Is Twitter okay? Do you have Twitter?
Sure. What's Twitter? What's your Twitter?
GRETG23.
Say it one more time.
I'll put it in there.
Yeah, just post it, and I'll do a screenshot.
Maybe we could make like a master list of songs for them to choose from that are, you know, legally checked out, like karaoke tracks or whatever. Something like
and
that.
Posting it.
Yeah, just like for them to choose from.
Dope.
Choose background or whatever. But then there you got the late.
I'm all about it. So guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that was amazing. Even on lip sync, the music is edited to about 1 minute in order to bypass copyright. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay. That's super. Let me screenshot that.
Edited down to about 1 minute. So okay, that makes sense, because then it would be faster too.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much again. Hit us up on our Discord. Follow us if you haven't, so that you get announcements on stuff that we're doing. We're always here Wednesdays and Fridays, 9:30 a.m. PST. Where are you, Karen? Where are you located?
Oklahoma.
Where Oklahoma? Tulsa? Cool. You're on your speaker, so it sort of like warbles sometimes.
I'll let you say goodbye to your people, but I have a million ideas, so get a hold of me.
Okay. Let's definitely talk more. Thank you, Karen.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your support. I can feel your energy, and I can feel you guys being here, and I can tell that this is good. So let's keep it up. Let me know what else would be useful for you and fun to learn about. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk some more. Look forward to meeting you and finding out more about what you're up to. Thanks, guys. Be well. Stay safe.